Los ins Auto, wir fahren raus aufs Land, da wo echt keine Sau mehr ist. Wir warten knietief durch den Matsch, bis kein Fuß mehr zu sehen ist. Und ein Räuberleiter dort auf einen rauen Fels rauf. Lassen die Beine baumeln, denn die Welt nimmt ihren Lauf. Ihren Lauf. Na los, ich spiel unsere Hymne an. Dann heißt's, singen aus dem Autofenster. Sollen die Leute doch schauen, uns hält heute nichts mehr auf. Denn heute ist gestern schon morgen. Ist gestern schon morgen.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is RainbowDave and some FS19 news happened. And keeping of my tradition of never really being around when it happens, I was asleep when the email arrived into my inbox and the video dropped. So what released today was a little trailer, about a minute long. They're about a minute 16 seconds long, showing off the European map that's been kept very secret until now. It is a German-Swiss-Austrian map that's coming from Blizzard himself on Giants Discord. German/Swiss/Austrian. It's called Felsbrunn. It looks very interesting, and without further ado, let's hop into the trailer. I know you've already watched it. It will have been at the start of the video. Let's hop in and have a look, and you'll hear me clicking. That's me, like, pausing the video. I'm going to watch it through myself here. I'll just kind of put the highlights into this video for you guys, and we'll go from there. If you watched the John Deere thing from a few days ago, the John Deere teaser trailer thingy, with the first in-game footage, going to be much the same. So, I'm gonna stop about 3 seconds in already. Yes, it's gonna be one of these videos. Because there's a lot going on in this one picture. Number one thing that I notice is that the shadows aren't turned up to 100% by Giants in this teaser trailer. Because you can see some pixels. That's a thing that's always happened in the game. And it's still happening here, and it's beautiful to see. There is some unfortunately close foliage. This is in-game footage, by the way. There is some foliage that's unfortunately a bit too close and looks not so great as a result. But the thing that I'm kind of interested in with this still is the bloom. You're asking me now, Dave, what's bloom? It's, if you look at the train, which I'll have arrows and stuff and pointed out to you. If you look at the train, you'll see that the edges are kind of not very well defined. The same with the trees behind it, and it's kind of washed out by the light from the sun. So there's a nice bit of bloom, a bit of volumetric fog going on as well, I believe. And as Matt XGS said, this is much more in keeping with what we saw in the very, very first pictures with the Fent ideal, the Agco ideal. There have been kind of talks forwards and backwards of, oh, well, is the quality of the pictures improving? Why is the quality a bit everywhere? I think it's just Giants using different work in progress versions of areas of maps, or maybe even a test map. Where they're testing one or two things, and they're just brought a tractor in, taking a picture, there we go, we're good, move it back out. But this is really the first time we get to see the game properly. Other than the John Deere trailer, which I believe was on the American map. But something that is slightly interesting to me is this is much more in keeping with the very, very first screenshot where we all thought, oh my god, FS19 is so different. It's so amazing looking that it's just going to blow FS17 out of the water. This trailer as a whole, not just this one screen, this one still that I'm showing you right now. The trailer as a whole does this. But you can see the light playing off the trees again. The bloom going on just everywhere, light playing off everything, the light kind of scattering through the plants on the right hand side. The very different looking trees up at the top, above the train, that is very interesting indeed. And of course the train, which is not what we're used to, more on that later. This is not the same train for 17. It is a bit of a shame. And I'm going to do a couple of negatives from this one still right now. Bit of a shame that the textures, when you get a bit too close, and Giants got a bit too close when they were recording this, look bad, really bad. The plant on the left hand side looks really bad, and it might just be that I've paused at the exact wrong time. And, the shadows, once they get to a weird angle, they go a bit weird. But that's just a thing that's always happened. It's nothing new, nothing a big complaint. It's something that honestly happens in most games if you have the shadows turned down slightly, as they pixelate quite a lot. Because rendering in every pixel of a shadow is a lot more difficult than rendering in every pixel of, we'll say, a guardrail or a bit of road, because the shadows have to be dynamic. So it's quite taxing on computers. So, moving on slightly, we get a look at... Why is my video lagging slightly? I'm not sure. We get a look at a train station. It does look to be a passenger station of some description anyway. And again, the light is playing through the trees, making them look absolutely stunning. They do look to be new trees again. Definitely the two on the right, three on the right, actually four or five. Okay, the number on the right, left, Dave. Learn right and left. That's the left. Oh dear. And again, the bloom over on the actual right. Not the fake right, like a minute ago. The real right. The actual correct right. Coming through over the houses, and it's kind of showing off a bit better because there's a tree over there that's really showing off the bloom. And again, the roofs of the houses are showing it off quite nicely as well. And the pine/fir tree, I really can't tell them apart by looks, is doing much the same. It could be a spruce as well, actually. Dave talking about tree nomenclature. But something that's very interesting to me in this still is the buildings. Look at the detail and the texture work. They're not perfectly clean. They're not clinically clean like so very often happens in a lot of maps. For some reason, mainly like European maps have this issue where all the buildings are just bizarrely clean, as if like the people of the locality knew that somebody was making a map and painted all their houses really quickly. So the paint was still wet when the map was made. But it's always been kind of a bugbear to me of mine that a lot of the stuff Giants made in the past looks like it's changing for 19, which is definitely a big step forward in my eyes just in terms of detail work. A lot of the stuff that Giants had, if it was on like a modern based map, I know Sosnovka was a bit odd because it was kind of a map that was stuck in the 60s in a way, because it was based in like the former Soviet Union, so everything over there is kind of stuck in the 60s. But there was kind of a lack of life to a lot of the buildings the Giants always had, and it's great to see that the life is being brought back into the buildings, and in a way they're kind of existing in the world for a while before you show up in the game, because there's dirt, there's grime, there's kind of marks of them being aged, especially here at the train station, where you can see bits of possibly even soot, because I see a water tower, a red water tower in the distance. I'll get an arrow to that. So it's nice to see kind of bits of mildew and moss and stuff growing on the buildings. Whether or not that's 3D, I don't know. I don't particularly care. It's nice to see a bit of detail work. And on the ground, more than just grass, you got bits of other things, which I'm not entirely sure what they are. Red things. So there's a lot more detail definitely in this one area. But I did see the red things in the last still as well of the train going over the bridge. The red things are there as well, so it's kind of interesting. One thing of note, because I've watched this through a few times now, if you pay attention, you'll notice the trees and the grass and the crops don't move yet. That's kind of an indication that, yeah, this is still very much work in progress. There's still stuff being ironed out, and there's still a couple of things that aren't 100% working yet. That's not me getting down on giants at all, before anybody takes it that way. That's me saying, they're trying to get us this footage as quickly as they possibly can, so as soon as enough works that they can show us something, they're likely going to show us. In fact, the email I got from Lizardhan today literally said, "I'm sorry about the short notice. I only found out 20 minutes ago that this was going to happen today." That shows how much giants are really just pushing stuff out to us at the moment. And while I complain about, it's all really inconvenient that we get no notice, really good at the same time. I'm 5 seconds into the video and I'm 10 minutes into talking about it. Yeah, I'm gonna move on now. So I'm gonna pause again here on this still 7 seconds into the minute-long video. This could be a long one. Just talk about the grass. It does look very, very different, and definitely looks like there's more of it, and it's, and I will say this with some certainty, a different texture to what we saw earlier this week with the John Deere teaser. It's a much darker coloured grass. I think Bullet Bill might be a bit happier with this. But here we get to see what things kind of look like in shadow, and how the shadows are going to affect things, and I guess a bit of the world at large. A very kind of hilly atmosphere on the map. I really like that. And the train is electric, which I can't recall that ever being a thing in Farm Sim, is having electric trains. I know there's maps that have had it. Because I remember one map back in FS13, before I started doing YouTube, had the ICE train blasting its way through, which is kind of cool, but completely pointless. It was just a bit of detail work the map maker decided to put in. But is the train going to drive through? Yes. Not really enough that I can talk about it. I can grab a still from that. So the train is completely different. It is, as I said earlier, an electric train. Or it might be a... Oh, it's a combi unit. It's diesel electric. Because it can run from electricity. It's not running off electricity in this video. But it is a German-style train. It is, flat front, flat rear. I said front as I was pointing at the rear. You can't see this. I said front when I was pointing at the back of the train. And rear when I was pointing at the front of it. GG, Dave. I guess it's reversible, so it doesn't matter. It's a very European-style train with a rectangle that has an engine in it in the middle. American trains tend to not be so boxy and tend to have some sort of design to them. Definitely kind of a Swiss, German, Austrian style train. Which they're used all over Europe. So let's move on so that I don't have an hour long video. One thing I want to say about this trailer, and it's just occurred to me because the music started playing quite loud in my ears. The music is astonishing. I'm going to likely download the song later. So, in this still 11 seconds in, we're doing well. Is that a little plane or something? Oh, it's a bird! Oh, it's the birds! The birds! We get the first look at the birds. Apparently at FarmCon they were flying pigs. We also, interestingly, get the first proper look at what the sunlight's going to look like. I know that we've had kind of glimpses in the John Deere video from earlier this week and whatnot. But this is the sunlight in all its glory shining through the volumetric fog, which is, of course, a new feature. And this hill isn't, this field, it's not flat. This is likely going to be a meadow. It's flat. It's not flat. It's hilly and divotty and beautiful, and there's flowers. And yes, I love this. But the real thing to note here is the birds that are flying off, and they have sound effects, and this is in-game footage, so we know this is going to be a thing now. The birds are going to just land randomly and take off and do things, and I love this. Just look at that bird flying off. A lovely little shot of the waterfall. Does look to be the same one that they've been using for a little while, the same waterfall effect. Nothing really to talk about in this still. I just like the waterfall and the way the light plays off the rocks, which is seemingly very different. Like, they're really nicely modelled rocks. They're not painted in, they're modelled in. I can tell just from the detail on them, I guess. Not to besmirch the rocks right beside them that are that are painted on, but there's a detail change. And a lovely little wooden bench that's casting shadows of itself, which is lovely. So, moving on again. There is, for the first time in a Giants... Not the first time in a Giants map. There's, for one of the first times in a Giants map, a football pitch. I think it might not be the first time. I can't remember. But lovely little football pitch, with a fence literally right behind the goal that has holes in it for some reason, and I'm not entirely sure why. Also, the groundskeeper of this pitch needs to be fired because half the pitch is mud. But there's a lovely little Swiss castle, and no, that's an Austrian style castle. I do apologize. There's Austrian style. There's a slight difference that Swiss style tends to be a bit more grandiose and be like 3 miles wide. Austrian style tends to be a bit taller but a bit less grandiose. And of course some houses in the background which look really nice as well. Is there anything of note in this still here while I'm looking at it? Because I'm kind of... No, there's nothing really of note other than the castle, the soccer goal or football goal, the fence of wonder, the little shed that's looking a bit beat up, and the castle. I can't see anything really to talk about here. Little hunting blind. Actually, I want to just reverse for my own good here. So this little still here with the trees, the bench, and overlook over an area of the map. You can see there's a river. There's always a river. It's the Giants map. Of course there's a river. But look at the way the fields are. They're not flat. They're not boring. I don't mean to sound mean to Giants, but the Giants maps have always had this weird issue where the fields just had, like, if they had a gradient, it was just a gradient. There wasn't any rollingness to them for whatever reason. But this map is very different. This is going to keep a lot of people very interested for a while by the looks of it. Of course, with the new mechanics, it's going to be very interesting to play anyway. But this little overview of a small area of the map really shows off how good it is. You can see the trees on the right that go down hill and over some lumps and bumps, and towards the middle of the picture is a little brown area with a group of trees, but it's up on a little bit raised bit over the road and over a little meadow beside it, and it's just very interesting to see the rolling hills and the everything just kind of feeling that bit more natural than some of the Giants maps in the past. This still here, 25 seconds in, because I've realized that I'm really overdoing this now, and I need to get this video edited at some point today, is presumably the farmyard, because we got a pole barn, we got a Swiss-style farmhouse. I want to say that's Swiss, it might be Austrian, might even be German, who knows. It's one of the three, because Lizartan said it was one of the three. And again, it looks dated and aged, and you know, not like it was painted 5 minutes ago. Roof has all different coloured tiles on it. It looks really nice. The ground is nicely detailed. Bits of mud on the concrete, which does actually look really nice. The The way the shadows are forming on it is beautiful. And the detail work in the wood is very interesting. The wood textures are very detailed. So it does look like the detail of individual things might be going up with textures, which is very nice indeed. Moving on, we get a look at what could be a sell point. It's not really clear what this area is. But you got rusted. Yeah, there's rust and stuff, and that looks really good rust, actually. That's really nice. Oh my god, now that I'm looking at it for a bit longer than just a split second that it shows in the video. Holy cow. That is really nice rust. It looks metallic, except for the rusted bit, which isn't reflecting the light, that is... Well, there's a bit of rusty bit reflecting light in the one to the left. Right. Other right, Dave. Learn left and right. But it's the detail work in these 3 bits of metalwork, and I think this is what was wanting to be showed off here, is the way that the detailing works now. Is the rust looks like rust, the metal looks like metal, and the painted metal even reflects light slightly differently to the bare metal, and that metal will be probably aluminium or something like that. But it's reflecting light differently. You know, the bare metal is shiny, the not so bare metal isn't as shiny, and I've just realized that I can... Why can't I grab this video and jiggle it about in the player? That's odd. I don't like that. So, down at the docks now, and while there's not a lot to see here, it's again showing off the new detail work. You can see the crane in the background is a bit rusty. It's old. The sign on it even is, you know, it's worn out. It's an old sign looking like it's from the 80s or 90s. That's a nice little bit of added detail there. The windows on the warehouse are kind of mucky and grotty, and even on the building to the at the front of the picture, in the foreground, that's the word I was looking for. They're all grotty and not clean, and bits of dirt everywhere on the buildings, and just things looking aged. And the big spotlight on top is a really nice touch. I hope that all lights up at night, just lights up the ground beautifully. I can't remember the last time I've seen like a giant spotlight like that, or a floodlight, I guess is probably the better word, in a Giants map. Quick look at the wood sell point, and we're into the city. Or the town, or village, or whatever. Lovely little statue of various animals. You know, cow, pig, sheep, dog, deer, and bird. It's all the animals in the game. That's really nice. I've just just looking at it now. You got the cows, the pigs, the sheeps, the dogs, the little deers, and the birds. The deer don't seem to be in this trailer, though. I haven't seen a deer. That is interesting. And again, little flower, you know, more just showing off the detail work that's gone into the map. The church looks perfectly clean, which it usually would, except for the bits that are hard to clean, like the wire mesh has bits stuck in it. And the roof looks a bit aged. The buildings themselves, there's bits of dirt and specks and mess on them, and it's lovely and just kind of adds detail to the world. And I just want to stop here 41 seconds in, because there's a fake Lidl and Aldi, which is called Ledley, which I'm only pointing this out because I find it brilliant. That is a brilliant way of getting around like copyrighting names, Giants, because Lidl and Aldi basically have the same building layout and a very similar logo, so merging the two like that into Ledley is a fantastically evil idea. Also, you might notice I'm not pointing out any of the posters or anything in this, because they're completely nonsensical. Lizardhand did confirm that the posters are meaningless, so I'm not going to look into any of the posters or stuff. I'm kind of looking into the stuff that has something to do with the game. And again, the grass does look a lot darker than it was in the previous in-game footage from a few days ago. I'm really loving this song. Is there anything worth talking about? Ah, yes, there is. This cobblestone path. I'm sorry about the. Is there anything we're talking about? I'm just kind of watching this through and seeing if there's anywhere else I want to stop. The cobblestone path. Look at the way the light plays on it. You know, the bits that are closer to where the sun is, and you can see it reflecting off the water, which is another good reason to stop. And again, the bloom coming through the trees. But the bits closer to the sun are brighter. The bits farther away are a bit darker, and you can see it definitely in the foreground a bit more, where the light is playing off the correct side of the stones even, and that is a beautiful little bit of detail work that'll just add a bit more life to the game. And the fact that the sun reflects off the water, and here you can really see it in this shot of the castle, you know, the sun, kind of evening time I would say this is. The sun just behind the castle and reflecting off the water, causing a massive glare. And the bloom to happen again, and off to the left, the actual left, not fake left, you can see again the hilliness of the fields, and some of them have quite steep gradients, so they're going to be fun to work with. The little cobblestone path winding its way up the mountain that we were just talking about. And let's move on a bit more. See, is there anything else here that I can spot? The railroad crossing seems to be very American. I don't know what they're like in Germany, but I've not seen many like this with just the X and the lights. Without a sign in front saying stop when red lights flash. And it's usually a triumvirate of light. There's usually a third light up on top that's like orange or just steady red, to show that it's clear and safe. One thing that is interesting here is the light from that even is shining. So that is a true light source now, well, I think it was an FS17, but there was no real way to see it when you're in the train zipping past. And somebody mentioned that there's no player visible in the train and that it might just go about by itself. I doubt that personally, because that would be kind of going backwards from where we were in FS17, which was you can drive the train. I don't see Giants taking that away. I see that just being kind of kept the way that it was. But again, the sun visible in the background, causing all sorts of mayhem with the light and bloom and blur and all that. It's really so far beyond anything FS17 has been able to produce. Yeah, that's the end of the trailer then. There's nothing really else worth talking about other than one little thing, and I'm gonna bring it up again because I brought it up in the last video. The people who seem to be insisting, and I've heard that it's still a thing, that FS19 is FS17 with the shaders. It is not. If you still think that after watching this video and this trailer that came out today of the map, please get yourself to Specsave. Get a friend to accompany you because you may actually be blind. Get yourself to an optician as soon as possible. If you drive, please stay off the road because you might well be a danger to other road users. Because your eyesight clearly is failing. Because this looks nothing like FS17. It is so far advanced from FS17 that it's not even a fair comparison. Are there things that could be improved? Yeah, there's always stuff that can be improved, but it's work in progress. I'm not going to say, oh, this is bad, when it's work in progress. They're probably aware of whatever is bad that some random idiot in Ireland can spot. But that is going to do it. I will leave you here by saying I'm RainbowDave. You've been watching a not so quick look at the little teaser that came out for the brand new map today. The European map, whose name I've forgotten already, Felsbrunn. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Until next time, stay safe and goodbye. And leave your comments on this trailer down in the description, down in the commenty bit, where you can do the talk. Bye bye.